We left you last time moored at Anton's Gout on the River Witham. In this episode we'll be making the return journey to Torksey Lock, stopping at various places on the way and another couple of days in Lincoln. We didn't film the whole of this return journey as it would have just been repeating what we'd already filmed on the way down to Boston. But we filmed quite a few highlights, some good points and some not so good points, especially the weed that became a real problem, as you'll see later on. Our first stop was at Dogdyke Moorings at the Packet Inn for what we thought would be a quiet lunch. But the Eurofighters from RAF Coningsby close by were on training exercises. We stayed there for the night and were treated to a visit by a lovely swan family. The next day we continued on our way. This on the right is Dogdyke Pumping Station. The steam engine was built in 1856. It's thought to be one of the oldest steam-driven pumping sets in the country. We stopped for the night at Kirkstead Bridge and were treated to another air display. This time it was one of the Lancaster bombers at a local air show. If you've seen our previous videos from the River Witham, you'll have seen that the azolla weed and duckweed had become a big problem. The scale of the problem was partly due to having a late summer and very hot temperatures. Before we set off, Pete took the cover off the weed hatch and cleared the weed from the propeller.
All right.
It's really important to tighten the weed hatch properly and make sure it's all in place, because this is one of the things that could sink the boat by letting water in if it's not tightened. There's Poppy in her usual spot supervising her dad. Moored on the pontoon with us was one of the CRT weed boats. We'd seen one in action a few days earlier. The Canal and River Trust were putting boats out 4 days a week to help clear the problem and were spending about £80,000 to do so, but it was just overwhelming. Each plant can double in size every 3 days. As we approached Bardney Locks, we'd planned to use the facilities to fill it with water as we were totally empty. It was getting late in the day and we knew that there was some visitor moorings just beyond the water point. We're at Bardney Lock and there's so much weed actually in the lock, and then up there, like beyond the lock. It's like nobody's been here for ages, but I just spoke to the guy and he said it just gets like this really, really quickly. We were helped through the lock by the lovely man that lives there in the lock cottage. It was really hard to move the lock gate as the weed was like a very thick mat on top of the water. when we get to a water point, we just pull in parallel to the side. We're trying to pull the boat in to fill up with water, and it's so thick and the water's so low, it's really hard to pull the boat in. Sort of stuck in the weeds, so Pete's going to try and just power forward a little bit to try and get the front end up by the wall over there, so we can run the hose from the tap just there and fill it with water. There's bike wheel in the water just there too. So the next plan was to pull the boat's stern in and run the hose along through the middle of the boat. That's one of the toilet cassettes there. Now Pete's shimmying along the gunnel to get the hose out of the bow locker. You can hear the dogs getting impatient there to get off, and after we'd sorted out the hose, Pete passed them over the back to me.
Done if you like.
So after we'd finally successfully filled up with water, we headed on up to the visitor moorings, and of course there was no space. We ended up cruising far later than we'd planned, and thankfully as we approached the Fiskerton Fens visitor moorings, we could see space on the pontoon. This was the mooring we'd seen on our way down the River Witham that wasn't marked in the Nicholson's guide, and we'd added it ourselves. And after our slightly crazy day, we were treated to a beautiful sunset.
Come on, let's go get a treat. Come on. Come on. Come on, keep working. Come on. Go get a treat. Come on. Who wants a treat? Does anybody want a treat? Okay, who's the best behaved dog? Hamish, would you like yours first? Are you a good boy? Good boy. That's me, a good boy. Good boy. Poppy, now take this gently.
After a lovely walk with the dogs, we got their life jackets on and we were off again.
10 minutes of helmet.
How far away from Lincoln?
8 kilometres.
How long is that going to take us?
About an hour and a half, something like that, I think, give or take.
You should put your foot down.
Start pedalling faster. Pedalling or paddling? Either.
to run. The river's gonna cry when you're gone. Where will you go? Won't you miss the ones you know? I'll be here, hanging on, waiting for your call. Seems like time as a wave passing by, leave a mark in our minds and turn to memories. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're. River's gonna cry when you're. River's gonna cry when you're gone. Hey, I was hoping you would stay, but I've always known that you would go and find your own way. I still see when we climbed up in those trees, 12 years old, feel the wind and watch the river run. And the sun would always shine when we sat there, you and I. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're gone, 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 gone. The river's gonna cry when you're. The river's gonna cry when you're. The river's gonna cry when you're gone. It's gonna cry, it's gonna cry. River's gonna cry when you're gone. It's gonna cry, it's gonna cry. Hey, I heard you want to leave this place where we grew up. This old town, just leave it all behind. River's gonna cry when you're gone.
We were soon back in Lincoln at Stampen Lock. If you've seen our previous Lincoln video, you'll know that this is a guillotine lock, slightly unusual. It operates on the same principle as any normal lock, but it's unusual in that each gate is a single piece, usually of steel, that slides vertically upwards when opened to allow the boat to go underneath. The regular lock gates are manual at one end, but the guillotine section works from a control panel. This is the old Rustons building that Pete worked in as a 16-year-old apprentice. We've cruised back through Lincoln city centre, under the empowerment sculpture that was built to celebrate the millennium. And on towards the famous Glory Hole again. And out into Brayford Pool. We'd booked another couple of nights at the marina so we could catch up with friends again. We spent the evening visiting a few of Pete's favourite places to go when he used to live in Lincoln. We took the next few days, completing the last leg of our journey back to Torksey Lock. walked down to the lock just to double check our time with the lock keeper, and enjoyed another peaceful evening with a beautiful sunset before we headed back down the tidal River Trent towards Cromwell Lock the next day. As always, thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment for us.